think I want just briefly to introduce that today we're going to discuss Charlie Kirk's death and then and how his death reflected to the struggle between the left and then the right, which we call as the cultural war. So my first question is that I would like to ask you, Charting and Snake, what's your take of Charlie Kirk's death and then and the current tendency of the left and the right wing?
Yeah, what happened? Yeah, I mean, the assassination was obviously horrendous. It's not a great thing that someone who, yeah, I guess he got killed because of an opinion, I guess, that he had. That's of course not a great thing. I mean, I wouldn't be in his position and get murdered because I wanted to say something on the mic while debating, you know, second-rate college students who don't even, we don't even know what they're talking about. But what also surprises me is the way he got killed. I mean, this was not I think not an amateur who doesn't know how to shoot because he was shooting him perfectly in the neck, and that was like from very far away. It wasn't like in front of him. So I don't know who was really behind it, or if this was just one person. According to the new murder, his name was uh, Tyler Robinson, who's apparently a conservative, but lived with a trans person. So a guy who's now a girl and this and that. Now apparently the trans person was already being questioned by the FBI or something. I mean at the beginning actually uh, I read news headlines that this was a leftist apparently like an Antifa guy who was apparently not liking Charlie Kirk, so he decided to kill him. But turns out it wasn't him. So I don't know who started this whole rumor about this being a leftist, and now he turns out to be a conservative and all that stuff, who seems to be more pro on the pro Republican side, I guess. What can we learn from it? I think the problem isn't actually not anymore that Charlie Kirk got murdered. It's more about who is at fault here, like the left or the or the right, which is I don't know if I should say it, but it's quite funny to me because everybody is just like completely turning a blind eye on the murder, but just wants to look at and wants to point fingers at the whose side is at fault here. So I think this whole lefty side that they blame the left person comes from the conservatives, while now the conservatives kind of looked don't look in the don't stay in a good light, saying that they have realized that that it was a conservative person. Even the mayor of Utah, where this whole incident happened, said that he basically hoped for 33 hours after the murder that it was a person that comes outside of the United States rather than a person who is an American. And then he realized it was an American, and then he has to admit to the fact that it was from their own people, which makes me think, so what is more important to you, that a guy got killed or where he's coming from? Like, shouldn't we just focus on the person who killed him and then say, yeah, this was a bad person? So I guess him of thinking of what nationality is the killer's what nationality the killer has, that's more important than the murder itself. So that's kind of pathetic in my opinion. And that's all I have to say for now, you know.
Yeah, so now it has been confirmed that the murder who is from a conservative family, and um, so does this actually mean that there's a huge gap or the split inside the conservative, I mean the right wing?
I would say, yeah, there's conservatives who are not like Charlie Kirk, I would say. Charlie Kirk was always a little bit too soft on Israel, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
He was downplaying the famine that is now happening in Gaza, which I don't know why he doesn't believe it, or if he doesn't see the pictures or the videos, which I saw when I was working on my place, because I work in TV and we see the videos. So I don't know what he says, and he doesn't believe that, these soldiers, the IDF soldiers, are not, targeting innocent civilians. But if you would read things like the Haaretz, which is an Israeli newspaper, they basically have soldiers on on the microphone saying things like they are being told to hit innocent civilians while they're waiting for, food to come to their place. So that's actually what's happening. And I don't know why he was so ignorant. People say that he's paid by Israel or like, by pro-Israeli groups who are now located in America. Like, I mean, I don't know if he's paid by IPAC, but that's one of those groups that are very like, pro-Israel, like very like I mean, in my opinion, they're Israel first instead of America first. So I don't know if that's if he's paid by them, but in my opinion, he's way too on the pro-Israeli side that he sounded a little bit too ignorant on the fact. Now he also had criticisms towards Israel, but still like that moment where he talked about the famine not being real or he hates being lied to or this is all propaganda, that was just too ignorant in my opinion. There's also another conservative group that basically goes against everything that Charlie Kirk and the mainstream Republicans stand for, which is basically saying we don't like Israel. They say we're America first and nothing else. I mean, they don't love Palestine and all that stuff, but they just don't want to be like Israel first, yeah, like IPAC and stuff. So they kind of go against that because MAGA people that always scream America first. Well, if you're America first, then maybe don't give so much money to Israel and then make sure that the money stays in America. That's I think the whole viewpoint. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is a example for that type of conservative, where she says, "Yeah, I don't like the fact that what we do in with the Israelis is not okay. We give them too much money. We're very complacent about, the I mean, she basically said it's a genocide there. It's ethnic cleansing. It's purposefully starving children to death. That's not what we like. We should keep that money rather for us instead of causing havoc in another country." Which I agree. I agree with that actually. So if she wants to be America first, then keep that money that you have inside your own country. I don't care. As long as you don't cause havoc in another country, I'm all okay with it. So I think those are the two biggest these two biggest conservatives. Yeah, there's always like smaller groups like maybe
Mm-mm.
right-wing extremists, but I'll be honest with you, these right-wing extremists are basically non-existent. They're not really open. They don't have a huge group and all that stuff. I've followed those type of those transitions between like since like the 2015. You saw that really on the internet. You see these groups pop up, and then it turns out they are mostly grifters and not real. They just, be on one side. Like, I mean, I give you a great example. Like, there's people who will be called like white nationalists, and I understand white nationalists are not cool people. They wouldn't like me, but the forerunners of these people, if I look at their background and what they say, they're anything but like right wing white nationalists. Like, I mean, would you call a white nationalist someone who's going to the Philippines and having like intercourse with Filipino women? That's not a white nationalist, in my opinion. So from that moment on, I realized, okay, that everything is not black and white. It's like a little bit more different and a different contrast in these groups, like in the right that they call the right. It's not just one group that is completely 100% having the same opinion, like for example, Israel or white nationalism.
Because we mentioned that the US didn't put the American first as I mean the young generations, the Gen Z, they felt that the economic situation is really insecure and then they don't feel safe for their lives. And then what I heard is that's the one of the reason that many young generations turn to be the right. And what's your take, Chao-Ting?
If you ask me, my reaction to this news first, I was surprised and shocked by the news because I watched Charlie Coker's video and I listened to his podcast not very often, but several times. I'm very impressed by his skills and his talent to motivate the people, especially the young people. He has organized a lot of debates in many universities. He has mentioned, he has said more than 200 universities, including some foreign universities such as Cambridge and Oxford. So he is a energetic activist, and he's very smart. His speech is fantastic. He has motivated so many young people. So I think he is a person with tremendous skill. Maybe you don't like him, you disagree with his opinion. This is okay, but if you are using political violence to stop his voice, to try to silence him, this is wrong. I think this is completely wrong. People always have different ideas and opinions. This is normal because we have different backgrounds, we have different experience, and we have received different information. Therefore, we always have different opinions. I think we have to agree to disagree. And if you disagree with somebody, you can debate with him, or you just go away. This is okay. But if you are trying to silence his or her voice, this is wrong, and this is unacceptable. That's why actually I'm quite angry with this incident. I don't care who killed Charlie Kirk, conservative or liberal, it doesn't matter. The key of this issue is that an activist, a speaker, he was killed because of his opinion. So this is unacceptable. I think there are 2 points. First, you have to accept the political competition. Okay, so you have to accept the fact that people always have different opinions. And second, if you disagree with another opinion, what means should you take? Okay, some people, I think most ordinary people, just agree to disagree, or you just go away. This is okay, but if you are trying to use political violence to silence different opinion, this is unacceptable. I think in this case, the murder has intentionally used political violence to silence Charlie Kirk. We have to think about the situation because we always have different opinion. How can we deal with the situation better? And how can we deal with different opinions? And I think in this case, it's not only one political incident. It's also important for all of us as ordinary people.
My understanding is that this event could create a huge impact in the future political debate or the political trends. That even though Charlie Kirk is is considered as the conservative, but still some people think he is the middle person because he is not that extremely right, and he was even trying to debate with students, trying to persuade the students, these left-wing students in the college, that about the importance of the religion, the truth, the love, and the beauty, and then like feminism, blah blah blah. But of course, he is against the feminism. I think he was actually trying to make a conversation between the right wing and the left wing, but no matter what is it, like that he was shooted, and then this makes like the political violence that can maybe destroy the whole conversation between the left and the right, that makes it impossible to have a peaceful conversation with each other. So it could be one of the worst impact on the future political trend. If this started that I don't agree with you, and then the other people say, oh yeah, I'm gonna shoot you. So that is really worse. That is the worst choice that people can do. From now on, how would the conservative people they would choose if they want to persuade more people to their group?
There are different reactions from conservative side. I think now the most important person is Donald Trump. He's now the U.S. president, and he's also conservative politician. Charlie Kirk is one important ally of Trump. So Trump's reaction is really important. It seems that Trump will not call for peaceful coexistence with different ideology like liberalism. He's trying to call revenge. I think he is taking one wrong position. Now, I think whether left wing or right wing should make a consensus. They should issue one calm statement to condemn the political violence. Because if you encourage political violence in the future, you can be killed by somebody. Okay, I mean both conservatives and liberals, both right-wing politicians, activists, and left-wing politicians, left-wing intellectuals, all of them, nobody is safe if you encourage political violence. If we look at the history of the United States, there are a lot of political violence, and many politicians were killed, both left politicians and right-wing politicians. So I think the right response to this killing is that all the people should have some consensus. Political competition should be encouraged, but political violence should not be tolerated. This is bottom line. I'm not sure if Trump can make the right choice. I don't know. But I think from my point of view, as one ordinary people, I think the common sense should be that we should avoid political violence at any cost.
It's not like how we said, okay, we shouldn't we shouldn't conduct the political violence. We should sign some consensus. It's not about what we think we should, but people don't do this. That's because I actually find that the people become more extreme than before. For example, like on YouTube, I saw like some people are actually really happy about Charlie Kirk's death. They think he deserves that, but yeah, but I think anyway, like you don't agree with his opinion. That means that he deserves to die, right? He has a father, he has 2 little kids, and he has a family to support. So yeah, but some people they were cheering about this. So it's not like what we said what we should do. Like, and then I was thinking why people become more extreme now.
I think this is very complex.
Yeah.
Many people become extreme and more extreme. I think the reason is complicated. The problem is how can we avoid such a bad trend? The problem is that not all the people have the ability to debate peacefully, to agree to disagree. I think intellectuals and opinion leaders have the ability to debate with people who have different opinion, like Charlie Kirk. Okay, he is very good at debate. He is very good at speech. Then he can use this means to achieve his political purpose. I'm not saying Charlie Kirk is an ideal person. Actually, Charlie Kirk is really one right-wing conservative propagandist from my point of view. He is not an intellectual. He is one propagandist, and he does not deny that. He has made it very clear. He supported Trump, and he wants to defend Trump's ideology and Trump's policy. That means he is not neutral. He is not neutral. He is 100% conservative right-wing activist. But he has the ability to debate with the people who have the different opinion. And usually, from his perspective, he has won the most debates, right? So, but not everyone has such a capability. Like the Kenner, he has the name Tyner Robinson, something. He disagrees with Charlie Kirk, but he is not in the position to debate with him, and his means is to use political violence. And in the US, everyone has gone, and this is making the situation more dangerous. If you are not able to debate with someone, but you disagree with him, and you have one gun, probably you will do the same. So, this is a problem. I think if we want to encourage political competition by peaceful means, for example, debate or speech or something, then we should train the people, I mean the ordinary people, to have such capabilities. This is important. Because intellectuals, of course, they are good at speak and write, so they can debate, they can use peaceful means to achieve their political purpose. But not everyone can do that. So if we want to encourage political competition, then we have empower the people to have the ability to debate peacefully.
I mean, it sounds like the people need to be educated, if you say so.
I think so. We are in Germany. I used to watch the German political talk show. For example, every Thursday there is one talk show which has name Maybrit Irna from CDF. I think the people who have different opinions can sit down together. They discuss some important issue, some hot topic. They debate with each other, but it's peaceful. And normally, the debate is with high quality from my point of view. I think we can learn from that. We should educate the people. I think you have used the right word. We have educate. We have educated the people to have the ability to debate and speak.
I mean, I think we have different focuses on discussing Charlie Kirk's assassination. I mean, your focus is on like how people can make a peaceful conversation, peaceful debate, and what interested me and is that why there's like such huge divergence between the left and then the right, and then also like why more and more young generations turn to be right wing, and why there's such huge split inside the right wing. So that's why it interested me more, because like Charlie Kirk's, first that his debate with the students actually already shows that. I mean, I wouldn't say that he was completely right, but we can also see that the students, the left-wing students in the college, they seems to be like really naive, and then they couldn't answer the basic questions that Charlie Kirk asked them about their knowledge about yeah. I mean, I think that is also the problem of the left wing education or the college education. So to some point, I kind of agree with Charlie Kirk that somehow the college was so expensive, and then it can be like a huge scam. Yeah, that's I mean, but this can be a long it can be a long conversation. Like, what's your take, Snake?
This whole discussion will be, after the assassination, will be completely deteriorating into topics that don't even matter. I mean, I already said that the mayor of Utah thought it was more important to understand if this guy was an American or not. Just to think about that. Just to think about. I mean, I think I maybe be a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I think this event will just will make sure that they talk more about new laws about surveillance and such. So I think this is going to give them give the people in charge, will give them a reason to try to implement more surveillance on the Americans, in my opinion, because this is just the perfect opportunity for them. Regards to Donald Trump giving a statement, I think you will not see a statement because he was asked about it and he said that it was bad, and then he immediately said something like, "Oh, look over there, there's a beautiful helicopter." He literally said that, so he doesn't even care. Next day, he was in a Yankees baseball game having fun, it seems, so he doesn't seem to be faced by the assassination one bit. So I think he doesn't care. So I don't know if we're gonna see a statement about political violence and such, because I don't know if it's gonna. I don't even know if it's gonna do anything, because people already think that Donald Trump is Adolf Hitler 2.0. So why would they listen to him? Which even was funny, even though like they can say all these things, but he's Hitler, I guess. So I don't know if the discussion will lead to nowhere really. Just dumb topics that make no sense, that are completely going out of the direction of the whole reason. Like, I mean, yeah, a guy was just killed. Focus on that, not if he was American or not. So yeah, this is what's gonna happen, in my opinion.
I mean, I actually didn't think too much about like what after this, but still I kind of worry about like the current what we call the culture war. Do you
Well,
think?
a culture war is not going to do much here. I mean, the thing is, no matter what happens, I mean, if a culture war is going to happen, I think us here in the country or China or whatever, we're not going to be really faced by it. It's not like all these people are gonna take up weapons and say, let's invade other countries and attack people who are not like us. No, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna happen.
Will become more and more extreme. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Listen, if they're gonna become more extreme, that's on them. If they kill each other over that, that's their decision. I'm not gonna cry after that because that's what they do. I don't do that. I don't go on Twitter and say, "Hooray, Charlie Kirk died." Like, how much of a terminally online idiot do we have to be to write something like that down and not think twice? You know, that's what we talk about. I mean, these people, I don't know if they can be saved or whatever. Now, people still got consequences out of it because certain people who have positions like jobs and such, they lost their job already. So guys like video game developers actually lost their job because they retweeted funny jokes about how Charlie Kirk died. And I'm just like, oh, just make a damn video game and shut the hell up. Like, and then he loses his job and he says something like, "Oh, I've done it against fascism and I'm proud of it." I'm like, whoa, what was fascist about this guy? You're not fascist. You don't even know what fascism means. Like,
I
what?
mean, it's kind of like the cancel culture, right?
It is cancel culture in that term. I
Mhm.
mean, now the guy who wished death, I mean, who celebrated the death on Charlie Kirk, he got canceled pretty much. I mean, he got exactly that, what we call cancel culture. You know, you say something, maybe not as bad, but now, okay, with him it was a bad thing. You know, he makes jokes about a person getting killed. I mean, that's completely distasteful. And then he loses his job. Certain people may could have said that and get away with it a little bit. Yeah, you know, if you're like a very powerful person, I mean, why would you care? You're powerful. But you know, this guy was a lead game designer for a company that works very closely with Sony. So, and Sony immediately they axed him off and they made a clear statement. Yeah, Mr. Drew, what was his name? Drew Harrison. Drew Harrison
Mhm.
is no longer working on Sucker Punch with Sony, so he lost his job. And there was other game developers who also say like similar things, retweeting these things. And you know, I don't know if they're gonna lose their job, but it goes to show you Sony is not afraid of making an example out of you if you cross the line a little bit here.
I
So,
mean, I mean, these people they make fun of Charlie Kirk's death, and then they get, uh,
then they lose their job, they get fired.
mm,
Even people on Blue Sky, which is
mm,
another, another. Basically, Blue Sky is Twitter Lite, like a light version of Twitter, where you cannot have people writing comments on your post, which is
mm.
basically a safe space for people who didn't like Twitter. Even there, people, you know, they say things like, you know, vitriolic things about the death, and they got even banned. Their accounts got banned on
Yeah,
Blue
I
Sky.
mean,
So.
I wouldn't agree with that. That people make fun of another person's death, but it's like, but still, like the cancel culture is still too much for me. Like, what's your opinion, Chaudi?
I have no idea about the cancel culture, but I'm fully aware of the struggle between left-wing ideology and right-wing ideas. I think this is normal in each and every country. There is always a struggle, competition, conflict between different ideologies and ideas. We live in Germany, and in Germany there are so many different political parties which have different political identity, right? So I think this is normal. This will not disappear. I think the struggle between different ideas and ideology. But if you are talking about the USA, when it comes to the ideological struggle between left wing and right wing, I think there are two sense which are new. The first is the so-called polarization. That means the political competition between left-wing ideology and right-wing ideas is intensifying, and in some case, people are using political violence, like the killing. Okay, this is nothing new, right? So, in the United States, President Lincoln and President Kennedy were killed, and Reagan and Trump were shot as well, right? So this is nothing new. And what is new? I think first, Charlie Kirk is not a politician, actually. He is a political activist, and his family is grassroots. He is not a powerful person like Elon Musk and Donald Trump. His only power is that he can speak very well, okay? He can debate very well. This is his talent. This is his only power. But he was killed by somebody. So I think this means that no one will be safe. For example, many influencers, okay, they are just ordinary people. They are not important person like Trump, who has very good security, right? So like Charlie Kirk, I'm not sure if he has security team, but it's clear that his security is not as good as Trump, right? So that means in the future, if you are one very influential, important, famous influencer, you will not be safe, okay? Because you will anger somebody, and you will offend somebody. Somebody dislikes you, somebody disagrees with you, and then you can be killed. So this is new. I don't know in the past what has happened. Probably Martin Luther King is similar. Martin Luther King was not a politician either, but he was killed because he is very influential. I think today Charlie Kirk is another person in the internet area. He is one influencer. Okay, he is one successful influencer. This is one new aspect, and the polarization in the U.S. is very dangerous. I'm not sure if it's still under control. I think this is a huge challenge for the United States. The political conflict, political competition is always very fierce in the U.S. Maybe they should learn from Germany. I think in Germany there is also political violence, but not so violent like in the United States. And in Germany, the politicians with different backgrounds can always reach consensus, okay? And in Germany, they have the government of coalition. For example, for this federal government, it consists of two parties, Union Party and SPD. Of course, they have different ideas. The Union Party is a conservative party, but the SPD is a center-left party. They have different ideology, but they can work together. Before building the government, they negotiate and they have some contract. This means they can make a consensus in some basic and fundamental issues. I think in the US, the political struggle is always binary. You have to be my friend or my enemy. This binary mentality is not good to reach political consensus. I think this is related to the political system of the United States. Their government is always one party, okay? Either Democratic Party or Republican Party. Very binary, and I think this is the political tradition of the U.S., and this is also the design of the U.S. political institution. I think maybe they can learn from Germany in order to reach a consensus. I don't know how they will go forward. I don't know, but I think from my perspective, we have to reach a consensus. If U.S. continue to polarize, I think U.S. will become more unstable. For all the Americans, this is not good. Maybe some Chinese are very happy about the situation in the U.S. Look, the U.S. is not stable, and the people fight against each other, and people kill each other. But I want to tell these Chinese, don't be too happy. Actually, the U.S. still has political competition. Yes, there are some political violence, but they still have political competition. I think the problem is that the political competition in the U.S. is becoming more violent. This is a problem. But this is nothing new, okay? I think the killing of Charlie Kirk is surprising, shocking, but it's not new. It's nothing new. In the US, they always have the history of political violence. But Charlie Kirk is one famous figure in the digital era, and he's an influencer. That's why we feel very shocking. But actually, it's not new.
Yeah, I agree that it's nothing new that because we already know that there's many celebrities in American history got got shooted or assassination. So I mean I just came to my question that the Snake you I think you have a lot of critics over German politics. Like do you agree with Chao-Ting's opinion that the US should learn something like political consensus from Germany?
I mean, political debates that could be always a good idea. Now, I don't
Mm.
trust them, to be honest with you, because they say a lot, but nothing is really explained in these shows, in my opinion. It's no wonder that they lose viewers. Actually, this is not a joke. They lose viewership. However, I also have to say, yeah, we have maybe a little bit more peaceful environment than we have in America, where everything is like so pro-Democrat versus pro-Republican because you have more parties, I guess. Here we're shifting always the blame on right-wing extremists too much, in my opinion, instead of also looking at the root causes of these ideas. Because what we like to do here is also in Germany, when something happens, we discuss not really the problem itself, but we talk around it really. We're not really having a clear discussion. Like those type of events remind me of things like the massacre in 2003, where a middle school student was shooting up his own school, for example. Like we had a school shooting, like for example, like not the first time, but we had it, and then we had a political talk about it. And what was the political talk about it? Things that make no sense whatsoever. We talked about how the reason why he did it is because he was playing video games. And I'm thinking to myself, what does video games have to do with this problem? It has no problem. There is no correlation. The fact is that, yeah, he played Counter-Strike, which is a first-person shooter, but he wasn't playing it that much that he was so addicted to it that he says, hey, you know what? I'm gonna get a gun and shoot up a place. He didn't dare talking about, like, he didn't think like that. They didn't see anything. What do? We talk about that, about video games. We don't just talk about it in one talk show. We talked about it in different news outlets, different magazines. It was just publicized so much where it's like, where do we go with this discussion? And I see that a lot now. And that was the first thing that I saw. I don't know if Germany is really a better solution because, like I said, we don't talk about the issues here. We do just talk around it rather than finding a root problem or talking about the root problem. So the thing is, we also had political events where, someone, just didn't shut up a school. There was someone who shut up a shisha bar where Turks are in there because he doesn't like Turkish people. There was a ex-Muslim guy who ran into innocent people with a car and during Christmas. There's a Afghani guy who's stabbing innocent children. I'm like, what is the difference here? We also kill each other here. So, and some of them are politically motivated. At least I know the ex-Muslim guy had some political motivation about Muslims and such. The guy who shot up a Turkish place, I guess he was a racist. He wanted to see dead Turkish people. Yeah, we see that, and this is not a great thing. But like I said, we don't talk about the problems. Because when I get back to the school massacre, they just blame it on video games, but they didn't talk about the fact that, he had a problem with his parents, that, they're very neglecting him, and the fact that he was bullied a lot during school, and that there was a gun in his home that was just completely there without his father watching it. The fact that the kid used to go to a club to do target practicing. Those type of questions are not being answered. And I see the same rhetoric right here, right now. Everything is being blamed on right-wing extremists before we know. And there's so many examples. I know you guys know Andres Breivik, the guy who detonated bombs in Norway and killed people. And
Yeah.
the first thing, and this is true actually, the first things the news and the politicians were saying is it was probably an Islamic terrorist without even saying anything. And then it comes out this guy is a Norwegian, like a native Norwegian guy. And I'm like, you wouldn't have looked so dumb if you wouldn't just say that immediately. Why don't you just wait and look for the root problems and look why he did it? And that's what I'm seeing a lot in Germany. We don't talk about the problems, we just talk around it and we don't have clear solutions. The solution is always either it's a right-wing extremist at the beginning or we need more surveillance. And that doesn't help because even with surveillance, you see these things happening. People shut up schools, people shut up restaurants where mostly are foreigners. We see people driving into with cars into people. I think that's like the newest trend here in Germany. People use cars and drive into people. I'm like, what is this? So yeah, we also have. I don't know if it's necessarily a political issue. I would say yes to a certain extent. But we also have a society issue, in my opinion, a cultural issue, and we don't really find solutions to these problems. We don't have them. But I would say without a doubt, yes, our situation is not as worse as the Americans, where the two-party system is completely dividing the whole society, which is why I would not advocate for a two-party society in Germany, actually, because that would be the same result as in America.
Yeah, I think you actually mentioned like two important points. That the first one is like there's the violence is not only happened between the uh in the political celebrities, but also around ordinary people. There is still like some serious violence which can be really bloody. And then the second point is that the media and or the mass society, that sometimes the discussion is always not focuses on the issue or on the problem itself, but they always just go beyond, go to the other track. So I think it's kind of just reminds me of the currently the left wing. The problem the left wing is like I think there's also many the person who claim that they are the left or the liberals, they criticize what happened in the left wing is also the same, because at the beginning the left wing want to focus on improve the working class status of their living conditions, the situations of working classes. But nowadays, the left wing just mainly focuses on the identity politics, like you know what I mean, like or the cancel culture or the woke culture. Then it's if they want to be like this, and then they cannot really improve the status of the working class, and then the working class feel that they were abandoned by the left or the democratic parties, and then they think the democratic parties are all dominated by these elites that just they pretend they care about the ordinary people, care about the LGBTQ or the minorities, but they didn't actually did something shit. So and nowadays we can see that the Donald Trump's claim that the Republican Party represent the interests of the working class, and then so yeah, and then I think that is the reason. Like the people, they are always they go beyond what they want to the problem itself, and then that's make the world and then the people more extremely. So, and how about you, Chao-Ting?
I think what Slake has said is very interesting. From your perspective, maybe the general political governance is not efficient, and they always talk, but they don't solve the problem, and their implementation or their execution power is not sufficient. I think this is really interesting because you have to achieve both efficiency or effectiveness and harmony, right? So I think German politics is quite harmony compared to the U.S. politics. U.S. politics is so fierce. If you look at the presidential election and the political struggle between the president and the Congress, and even at the grassroots level, like Charlie Kirk, today's topic, okay, he is not one politician, he is just one activist, but the struggle is fierce too, right? So I think we have to achieve the balance between effectiveness and harmony, right? So this is very difficult. If you want to have harmony, sometimes you have to pay the cost of effectiveness. I think the U.S. Political effectiveness or efficiency is quite high, higher than Germany, because they have one very powerful president. They have one government or administration with only one party. Right now, the party is a Republican Party. If they have the idea, they can implement the idea immediately. Of course, they have checks and balance, maybe from Congress and from the court, right? So, but your government has only one party. This means you can implement your idea, your policy with less resistance. Okay, the effectiveness and the efficiency are higher than Germany because Germany has a multiple party political system. Right now, the government has two parties, and for Nazi government, they have even three parties. Yeah, this is balance between the different political systems. You have one party state, like China. China has only one party, the Chinese Communist Party. So they are very efficient, very effective. If they have idea, they can do it immediately, okay, without any resistance. In China, this is regarded as an advantage of Chinese political system. The people used to say China has the advantage of concentrating resource and power on some big issues, right? So this is an advantage. In the United States, they have two-party system, and they have the political governance of winners take all. If you are the majority, you take all. This is American political system, but for Germany, this is multiple party system. And if you want to build a government, if you want to implement your policy, you have to reach consensus first. Different political systems have different strengths or advantage, but also disadvantage or weakness. You have to think about the balance. You cannot have all. You want to have both efficiency and consensus. It's not so easy. I think American has made their choice. That's why the political competition in the U.S. is so fierce and even violent like today. I think in Germany there is also political violence, but not as often and violent as in the United States. As ordinary people, I prefer consensus and harmony rather than violence and fight. Okay, although we will pay the price for effectiveness and efficiency, I think this is acceptable. For me, I think the German political system is much more acceptable than the United States. I agree. I admit that the US system is very efficient and they can take actions very quickly. And China can even take action more quickly and more efficient. But if you want to achieve long-term balance, if you want to achieve long-term peace, I think the German system is probably a good choice. But of course, sometimes not efficient, and it's very slow to take some action. They always talk, discuss, and no action. Okay, so this is reality. But sometimes you have to accept the reality.
True. I agree with you that as ordinary people, it's better to have like a peaceful political environment rather than like a radical environment. But I think like. But Germany has their own problem. Like nowadays, we can see that Germany, is facing a serious financial crisis inside their government. That there's even news pointed that the German government cannot support it for the welfare state anymore. But of course, it's a bit far away from today's topic. And then I think still we discussed like almost 1 hour. You want to continue the discussion, or you want to?
I don't know if you have some questions. If you want to ask Slake and me, we can answer your question. And then, if you don't have question, maybe we can make a summary.
I mean, I would just make the final point of that. Even though, like, the German, we say that the German government looks like it's more peaceful than the American politics, but I would say that I still worry about the future because nowadays, no matter in the US or in Germany, we can see the emergence of the right wing and then the extreme trends of the left wing. And these tendency or these divergence could make our future more violent, or it could make the peaceful conversation between the left and the wing, or even inside the each ringers, that can be difficult to have some conversation. That is, I mean, maybe I'm kind of like a pessimistic about the future, but I would just say that I'm really worried about that. And then I think like you rather than think about like why what we should do, of course we should appeal to the peaceful conversation, but I think we have to think about why the people, why the Gen Z or the young people, they turn to be right wing, and then why the right wing today, or even the extreme right wing, are more attractive for the Gen Z generation, for the Gen Z. So I mean that's my take for the current situation, and then what I think about what my reflection of the Charlie Kirk's death. Yeah, how do you think, what is your prospect of the future, or the extreme tendency of the right and the left? I mean, of course, it can be another conversation.
I don't think we can cancel the political struggle between different ideologies and political forces. It won't disappear even after 10,000 years. There is still a conflict and struggle between different political forces and ideas. So the problem is, how can we reach consensus peacefully? I think the assassination of Charlie Kirk can make us think about the fundamental question of reaching a consensus by peaceful means. It's really important. If you can hear Charlie Kirk, but the Charlie Kirk's supporters or other activists or other people can hear left-wing politicians or activists as well. And then what will happen? Chaotic situation and dangerous for everyone. This is the so-called everyone is against everyone. This is not good. Thomas Hobbes has described the situation. In German, it's called as jeder gegen jeden. Okay, everyone is against everyone. This is bad. So I think the fundamental solution is that we have to realize that it's important to reach consensus peacefully. Okay, but how can we achieve this purpose? This is difficult and very challenging. It depends on all of us, not only politicians, not only the decision makers, not only the intellectuals, but also the ordinary people. If we have the ability to talk to each other, to debate with each other peacefully, of course, we don't use gun, we use pen, and we use microphone to compete against each other. I think this is the so-called public sphere. I think the German philosopher Habermas has very deep thoughts about public sphere. We always have political conflicts, and we must always realize it's necessary to reach a consensus peacefully, right? This is not a war between different countries. Like Charlie Kirk and other Americans, all of them are American citizens. They have different opinions, but they should find a better way to achieve consensus. I think it's possible. It's possible. All of them are American citizens. They have common interests. Even people from different countries, like from Russia and from Ukraine, now they are fighting each other in a war, in a violent, brutal war. But they still have common interests, and they share some common cultures. I think both Russians and Ukraine speak Russian language. Many of the Ukrainians speak Russian, and they have Russian heritage. They have common interests. I think they should realize it's better to reach a consensus through communication rather than violence. This is important. Some people don't understand. They believe the violence solution is quick and efficient, but they will pay the price. And the society, the whole society, and the whole country will pay the price for such a violent way of solving the problems. Because a society with full of violence is bad for everyone. Nobody will be safe. This is my understanding. I'm saying about the assassination of Charlie Kirk because for ordinary people, even within one family, even with your parents, with your children, with your husbands, with your wives, with your brothers and sisters, you always have different opinion. So you should think about to solve the problem. You should think about how you can achieve consensus with these people. Okay, you have two choice: violent solution or peaceful solution. For me, peaceful solution is always better than violent solution. Someone has said no bad peace. There is only bad war. Okay, I think from economic perspective, peaceful solution is more efficient and yeah, I think this is my understanding. I think as ordinary people, I always think about how we can reach consensus with people who have different opinion.
I mean, I would say that yes, I prefer to peaceful consensus rather than like violence. But I will also say that it's also hard. Even that in one family, particular. I mean, we are both Chinese. Like in Chinese family, I would say that it's really hard to reach peaceful agreement. Like the parents and then the kids, they always fight a lot with each other. Even the couples themselves, like like I think somehow like Chinese people, I mean, I just mentioned like even inside their family, they don't know how to treat each other peacefully. I mean, and then just let's say that
Sorry, just one sentence. Because Chinese parents believe
how yeah
they are higher. They are not equal
yeah
to
yeah
the
yeah
children, so they don't want to discuss with you. They just want to force you to accept their idea.
yeah, that is a very, important and interesting point. And then it just remind me, in the current politics environment with the debate that, like for the, let's just take an example of identity politics. Like they believe that they are always right. And then they think like if you are against them and then you are against what there is, it's the broader ideological blueprint. So, that which just make it really hard for people to you reach some kind of like a peaceful consensus. If one person just always believe that I'm always right, if you are, as you say something like a different opinion that you are against this, you are against that. Yeah, so I think that is really hard. Our society, our the whole environment is becoming more and more extreme.
Yeah, I think so. I agree. I don't know. I don't know. But
I mean,
if we have the mentality that we should use peaceful means to
mm,
solve the conflict, I think this is better.
I mean, it just also reminds me that why it's really hard to reach peaceful, and then that is also one point that why more and more Gen Z become turn to the right because, like for example, if in the left wing that you make some jokes of the I would say like LGBTQ or the certain people, and then they will say that oh you are anti this group, you are anti this ethnics, but like what I noticed that in the right wing, some people they are famous about like these political memes. The people make fun with each other. They don't feel offensive. So that's why I mean I think it's kind of related to that. Currently, people cannot have peaceful conversations because people get offensive easily. So that and then if you want to have some fun, okay, go to the right wing.
I don't agree with that because the right
You are
wing
not agree
also
with this?
because the right wing also is full of crybabies that
Mm,
cancel you pretty much.
mm,
I mean, not just unknown people, but talk about the influencers and such. When you say something, you get canceled as well. You get
mm,
fired from your job because you're starting to criticize something that he likes. So that's
mm,
always a thing. Memes and such. I don't know if they are really right wing. I think they just do. I mean, they just love to make fun of lefties because they are
mm.
easier to offend. But I don't believe that the right wing, I guess, or the mainstream right wing is like 100% freedom of speech. They're not. They're
Mm,
also you can find something like, for example, criticizing Israel, and then you get fired from your job because a guy like Ben Shapiro, who has its own news outlet, fired a woman because she decided to criticize Israel. I'm like, isn't that exactly what you guys criticize the leftists for when they always, when you say something, you get fired from your job and all that stuff? You talk about censorship all the time. Well, didn't you censor your own company just now? So I see it on both sides, but I think with the leftists, yeah, they're a little bit more deranged, I guess, on the internet, when you go on Twitter. But
mm.
that's all that to me is like too much black and white. I think both sides, they are like they are crybabies. You just do all of that stuff to make sure that that you lose your job or that you're being smeared by the media and stuff. So it's nothing new to me.
So what do you mean is like, due to the cancel culture, like self-censorship is everywhere nowadays, right?
It's everywhere. Yeah, it's everywhere. But it depends on what you talk about. If you talk
Mm,
about LGBTQ, you get discredited by the leftists. If you talk about Israel, you get discredited by mainstream right-wing people, like Ben Shapiro, for example. Or,
mm,
I mean, you also get discredited by the ADL, which is not necessarily a right-wing, but it's just a stupid institution that thinks everything is racist. But it's like I said, it depends on what you talk about. Depends on what you talk about, you get discredited. It doesn't matter what side they're on, right wing, left wing, that doesn't matter. They don't like, they have their own, like people love to say that leftists love to be in their own echo chambers so they don't have to hear another person's opinion. Listen, the right wing does the same thing. They're also in their own bubble. They're also in
mm,
their own echo chamber, so people don't talk with them. There's a guy I'm sometimes in the videos with, which his name is like another YouTuber. He actually, I give him credit for that. I'm not agreeing with him every single point, every single topic, but he lets people into his live hangouts, no matter if they're considered, right wing or left wing. He talks about it. But a guy like Ben Shapiro, uh-uh. Or some deranged leftists, no, they will never do that. They're not like that. That's why, yeah, Charlie Kirk goes on to campuses and talks with people that have a different opinion, which I can respect. It's not innovative, it's nothing new because there's other influencers who did this before him. So,
mm. Who is
yeah,
this
I can give him
influencer?
that. But anything else, yeah, I don't see one side being cancel culture only and the other not. No, that doesn't exist. It's bad cancel culture if it's one of your own people. Like if one of your own people gets canceled, it's bad. But if someone on the other side gets canceled, it's great, wonderful, awesome. You know what I mean? This is the thing. And
Mm,
I think that mentality isn't really happening with the left and right paradigm. I think this cancel culture is an after effect of what it is. And I think I blame more social media because people on Twitter, Reddit, or whatever to just pick one. They come up with ideas, they come up with arguments, they come up with points, and they believe every single thing that they say is like worth more than gold because they think they're the center of the universe. So that's why they need to have an opinion on everything. So when they write it down on Twitter, and then everybody needs to know. That's what I think is the biggest problem. I blame social media also for it because now you have so much information and everybody
mm,
thinks their opinion is important. Everybody needs to hear it. And when I'm just saying you're insignificant, nobody cares. Because I don't care. I mean, that's why I don't have Twitter. So I don't even get my opinion that much out. So I don't really care about this.
So I think after hearing what you said, that I feel that it's really really hard that to make the people have some peaceful conversation with each other nowadays. Like,
On Twitter, you can't do it.
yeah, I think I would say that even inside academia, the cancel culture or the self censorship is still everywhere. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And
as
and, and
intellectual scholars, you also need to be self
And
censored.
while we're talking about this, why is it that, right-wing groups are supporting the idea of shutting down protests that are pro-Palestine? I thought you're for freedom of speech. Oh, I guess you're not because it involves on a topic that you don't like, that you don't agree with. That's the consensus we have in America right now. You don't like something, it needs to be shut down. It doesn't matter if you're right-wing or left.
Mm,
So Like, so, I mean, certain people lost their positions. Immigrant students even lost their positions in universities because they decided to participate in pro-Palestinian demonstrations. I mean, that's America right now. Like, I thought the land of the free and the land, the brave, home of the brave, and the land of the awesome is now shutting down free speech and freedom of protest. And this is what's going on now. Yeah, and that's not fruitful whatsoever. But I don't just blame one side, I blame both sides because they do it both play the same game. They have the same thought process, which is I don't like your opinion, I shut you down. That's what it is. So I don't respect none of them actually. I don't respect Republican Party or Democrats and this and that. You know, if you're paid by one of those parties, I lose immediately respect for you actually. So because you are complacent to the main problem, which is shutting down speech, be vitriolic, and then maybe even which maybe leads to, violence. You know, one person gets shot. Well, good for you. Congratulations. You basically destroyed your own country.
Yeah, the world is fucked up.
Yeah,
Radical politics.
yeah, sorry. Yaltin, I share your concern that today the peaceful conversation is becoming increasingly difficult. I think, yeah, not only for famous person like Trump and Charlie Kirk, but also for us as ordinary people. I think if we want to achieve peaceful conversation, peaceful communication, first we have to recognize the importance of peaceful conversation. And you must tell yourself that you should have a peaceful conversation. I mean, you should have this intention. You must have the intention first, and then probably you can achieve a peaceful communication. The problem is that many people have no such intention. They believe they can use violence to silence other people or to conquer other people, to defeat other people. This is wrong. I think actually nobody is afraid of anyone else because, for example, we have discussed in our WeChat group, and I also have the personal experience with some so-called feminists. Okay, these people, they are women, right? But they believe they are more powerful than other people, and they are not polite. They are very rude. Sometimes they criticize other people very rudely, not politely. I think this is false. If you are rude, the other people can be rude for you too. If you are not polite, other people are not polite too. This is not good for everyone. I think the people must realize peaceful conversation is good for everyone, and they must have such intention. I think today's conversation, today's discussion has probably one benefit. People must realize the importance of peaceful communication.
Yeah, I kind of feel you that, actually inside of feminist groups, there's different type of theories of feminism. Like, some people, so I think inside feminism, feminist group is also kind of weird. Like, for example, like certain people, they are what we call like a radical feminism, and then they are not agreeing with the women who have long hair, who make ups, who take care of them, their appearance. They think it's like kind of they were the slave of patriarchy. They are get the beauty duty, so that's why they suggest the women to get rid of beauty duty. Of course, to some extent, it makes sense, but then they are, they didn't really fight for the women has the right now to make up. They were start, what they do, they stick to blame other people, other women for making up. They said, "Oh, you are not the real feminism. You are taking the beauty duty. Then you are not the, you don't know shit about feminism. So I'm educating you to be a feminist." That's what I really hate. They, the women should empower each other, but actually, what they do is that they fight with each other. They blame the other group that is not a real feminist. What I feel is really bizarre. That is not what the feminism should about. Feminism about human rights. So, that is why it's so important for people to have peaceful conversation. That we we discuss something, and then we find a solution. It's not about that I'm right, you are wrong, and then I should educate you. Otherwise, I should physically make you disappear in this world. It's not like this.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
experience with such so-called feminists are very bad.
Mm.
Actually, they call themselves as feminists. I think they should learn how to
Mm.
behave properly first as one person, as one human being. They don't respect other people. If they disagree with some people, they blame you, right? So, and I think they should learn how to respect other persons, not only other women but also other men. Actually, they don't respect men generally. They don't respect men generally. If they disagree with some men and they just attack other men very rudely without any politeness. I think this is wrong. They have to behave properly first. They have to learn how to be one human being. Okay, then they can learn how to be one feminist, because if you are a feminist, you are also a person, you are also a human being, you have to respect other human beings. They don't have such respect. This is
Uh,
totally wrong.
it seems that you suffered a lot from the feminists. Oh, I think we already discussed like okay, almost 1 hour and a half. So I think it's kind of like a fruitful discussion that today we start with the Charlie Kirk's assassination, and then we discuss itself, this issues itself, like the murders, and then the political violence, and then why we shouldn't accept the political violence, as well as that the the American system, the problem American system itself, that, and then also compared with the German system. So also that I think we kind of get the consensus that it's important to have a peaceful conversation, peaceful debate rather than the political violence. And then we also make the feminism and then the cancel culture in both the left wing and the right wing as examples to discuss why it's so annoying, or it's so bad, like for current world, that we, and then why it's so important that we need a peaceful conversation. Yeah. And then I also kind of agree with Charlton. I think you actually point a solution what we can do now, as we are podcasters, that we speak publicly to people, even though that we are just a small podcast that, like, but people barely listen to us. But I think we at least take the first step, to speak our voice and then to have peaceful conversation with each other, even though sometimes we don't agree with each other, but still this conversation is peaceful. And then we are kind of like the intellectuals, even though we are on the bottom of this academic system. But I would say that the intellectuals or any academics shouldn't just stay in their intellectual or the academic bubbles. They should go out and then to make their voice, and then to appeal for the peaceful conversation, peaceful consensus with each other. I actually I have a lot of critics over the academia nowadays, that the intellectuals live in their own bubbles. They use this type of conflicted words like discourse, and then just to talk about identity, position, blah blah blah, and which is quite far away from ordinary people's life. This no wonder, like the people are trying to mocking about these intellectuals. I mean, that's another question. So whatever, like, I think we should end up to this discussion, and then for these topics, left wing or the intellectuals, we can still have the
Yeah.
conversations at the end again.
Yes, thank you, thank you. I just want to make one point before we close
Yeah.
the conversation. Yeah, I think the topic is not only meaningful but also important for us because we want to be influencer as well, right? So if somebody disagree with us, maybe they will care us, but we are not so powerful and influential like Charlie Kirk. But anyway, I think we should learn how to communicate with each other peacefully, although we have different opinions. So let me conclude our conversation with one sentence from one philosopher, French philosopher, Voltaire. He has said something like that: I disagree with you, but I defend your right to speak. He has said something like that. So I think we must defend the right to speak, although
Yeah.
we have different opinion. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Slake, and thank you, Yatin. I'm very happy to discuss with both of you.
Let's end up this discussion, right?
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.